You good there? 1, 2.
Address some of the concerns that the neighborhood have. And we have the leadership of the police service, we have the Minister in charge of the area, the Mayor. May you bless all these people and also bless all the people who have come here to share what I believe is a very important meeting. So shower your blessings on us, and may we have a very good and productive meeting. All this I say in your name. Amen.
Amen. Have your seats, please, and thank you, Mr. Robert Ali. Parliament and Attorney General of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago, the Honorable A.G.Faris Al-Rawi, Senator the Honorable Qasim Hussein, a resident and Minister of Rural Development and Local Government, our Commissioner of Police, Mr. Gary Griffith, Senior Superintendent Mr. Wayne Mohammed, former Member of Parliament, Ms. Diane Sukaran, and mother of the AG who gave us her only begotten son, members of the Gulfview community, members of the Protective Service, let me extend a very warm welcome to all as we here this evening to discuss the issues affecting the residents of Gulfview. As Mayor of the city, I have received several letters concerning your issues that we have been making an attempt to address. But before I say this, I have been approached by several persons on the outside asking me how I intend to climb Mount Everest. Well, I have been preparing for this. I have been obsessed with Mount Everest since I was 14 years of age. I suppose, if accepted, I have to do a medical in 2 weeks' time, and once I get past that, I'll be going. But my doctor is Mr. Conrad Murray. If you all know, Dr. Conrad Murray was Michael Jackson's doctor. So he'll be coming to check my heart and taking it from there. So I will keep you informed as we go along. But we're not here to talk about the condition of my heart or Mount Everest. We're here to talk about Gulfview and the surroundings. So we are aware of the potholes. We have been working on that. Now, you have to understand how the system works. By the ending of July, finances will be through. We are waiting on the budget allocation. Budget is read late September. It goes to Parliament, lower house, upper house. It's debated, and the president sign off, and then monies are allocated. That's where we are right now. Monies are now allocated, and work is being done. So we are addressing the potholes as much as we can in the interim, and we have, because of letters concerning illegal vending on the outside of the mall and inside of Marcy. Those letters were passed on to the municipal police yesterday. So you're going to see a strong presence of municipal police. Thanks to the Minister of Local Government, we now have 57 municipal police as compared to 18 when he was there and 23 when I came in. We now have 57 municipal police. There is a strong presence and a backup to augment what the TTPS is doing. So, and I must commend the TTPS, the Commissioner and Superintendent Wayne Mohammed for our crime rate in San Fernando. We are on top in terms of retrieving weapons and management of things. I think we should give them a round of applause, please. So we are here to keep this. We are not to talk politics here this evening. It's not about red and yellow. It's about the people of the Gulfview area and the surroundings. So we'll keep it there, please. At this point, I will ask the Attorney General to address us. Let's give him a warm welcome, please.
With all protocols observed, and thanks to our first citizen, ladies and gentlemen, thank you sincerely for turning up this evening. We're here to set the stage for a conversation. You may want to know why the Commissioner of Police is here. How come Gulfview? Why tonight? And I'll like to remind you that the Commissioner of Police extended himself to all 41 of the members of Parliament and in fact conducted in situ visits to each of the constituencies. It was very important for us in San Fernando to have our turn at a conversation with the Commissioner of Police. And that's what tonight is about. The structure that we propose to implement tonight will be to tee up a bit of the conversation and then, in very important measure, to leave room for the audience to participate and to have their concerns addressed. The head table is obviously comprised of the commissioner himself and, importantly, the man with responsibility for the San Fernando and our community structures of security and supervision. The mayor is here insofar as the city corporation is involved in part in policing, as is the minister with responsibility for local government. What do I mean? We have introduced a system of municipal policing which is being rolled out. Each corporation is to receive 100 municipal policemen. As the mayor has told you, we're up to 57 already. I'd like to tell you that this evening I ensured, number one, that I'm not wearing a color that you may otherwise see me in a time such as this. Number two, I specifically invited the local government candidates for both political parties that are the primary parties, that is the PNM and the UNC. We asked Mr. Rudy Balram Singh to come tonight because he is the candidate for the UNC's local government election, as we have asked Ms. Aliyah Baksh to be here with us. This is San Fernando and a section of San Fernando talking about one of the major issues in our city, which is the management of crime and the regaining of security. With that introduction, I'd like to just introduce a small landscape. Law and order, crime and security have not been traditionally addressed in the manner in which it is being addressed right now. Most often, law and order has been dealt with in exceptional ways or in stereoscopic, narrow ways. What do I mean? You've seen law and order under a state of emergency. You've seen law and order with police operations where exercises are conducted. You've seen law and order with pieces of law that raise penalties or increase jail term. What you have not seen in law and order is a comprehensive application of structure. And if you just permit me a few moments, because it locates itself into a lot of what the commissioner has responsibility for. For far too long, we didn't focus upon an anti-crime plan, not a crime plan, an anti-crime plan, which involved a few elements: plant and machinery, people, processes, and then law. These four elements are what change the shape of getting a result. You can put out the police to communities, you can have exercises, you can grab people in police pickup raids for suspicion of commission of crimes. What are you going to do with them next? You charge them for a crime, you take them before the court, and then the court cycle takes 10, 15, 20 years. We saw a classic example of that this week. This week we saw the system of preliminary inquiries come to the fore. When you get charged for a serious offense, you are brought before a magistrate to have a preliminary inquiry. That is an inquiry in the magistrate's court to see if you have a serious charge that should go to the High Court. It's attempted to weed out frivolous cases. 20 years ago, by way of example, we built an airport in this country. 14 years ago, we started a preliminary inquiry. 1 week ago, the judge who received a judicial review application said, restart the entire inquiry to see if you have a case to answer in the High Court. In the United States of America, those matters were finished in the year 2004, 4 years after they started. We repatriated the proceeds of crime to Trinidad and Tobago. An installment of that will happen in the month of December, where the country is expected to receive $36 million in forfeiture claims as a result of my having restarted the PRCO matters in the United States. They went to bed for 6 years. That preliminary inquiry is pertinent to what we're talking about tonight. The commissioner goes out, rounds up suspects, you arrest them, you take them to court, and then your trial in court to see if you have a matter takes 15, 20 years. Statistically, we know we have approximately 2,500 people awaiting trial. 1,000 of them awaiting trial for murder. Some of them have been incarcerated for up to 15 years or 20 years awaiting a trial. A trial happens if you have a judge who's in a courtroom, who has a witness, who has a prosecutor, where a defense attorney stands up and the evidence is brought to court. Obviously, that involves plant and machinery, people, processes, and law. The short story is, we've spent the last 4 years birthing. By the time January rolls around, we will have birthed 80 new courts. Let me repeat that. 80 new courts. 60 of them alone in Port of Spain. When we move the Parliament from the waterfront building, we move the civil court there, and we use the Hall of Justice only for criminal trials. Children's courts, family courts. By March of next year, we will have completed the new DPP's office where the prosecutors sit in Port of Spain, in San Fernando. We already opened the one in Tobago. By January of this year, we will have the public defender system birthed, where if your defense counsel is not available, a counsel is appointed for you. So your trial is ready to start, your lawyer is not available. 3 chances you get for your lawyer to be available. Your lawyer is not available, a lawyer appears in court for you. Very importantly, we created a division of criminal courts. We merged the jurisdiction between the magistrates and the High Court so that you could case manage. We introduced criminal proceedings rules. The criminal proceedings rules have automatically resulted in a 44% increase in the rapidity of cases. We have legislated for the increase in judicial numbers from 36 judges to 64. We have introduced case managers in the form of masters of the court. In 2015 there were 2. We now have 14, and we're adding 10 more in the next couple of months. But before this year is done, we will, God willing, have abolished preliminary inquiries. We've introduced plea bargaining. We've put in maximum sentence indicators. In other words, ladies and gentlemen, if the Commissioner of Police catches a criminal, you're going to get a trial started inside of 1 year. That's where the force of law comes to have a meaning. In San Fernando, because I want to move quickly to the Commissioner, we have a massive developmental program in San Fernando that has started. It started already with Skinner Park, with its redevelopment in Ground 1. It moves along the entire waterfront project, but it very importantly involves an improvement in our road network system. And our road network system will take advantage of 2 very important laws that I, as AG, will have brought to the country. Number 1, we have introduced the amendments to the Motor Vehicle and Road Traffic Act. That is to introduce cameras at every location along roadways. That means that there is a philosophy of something called eyes everywhere. We'll be able to treat with road traffic that way, but what the Commissioner of Police needs is what you want to make sure and we want to make sure we have. Who is going to testify in a court of law that they have witnessed a crime? You recall the vision of that WhatsApp video of a lady who had an epileptic fit outside somebody's home, fell to the ground, and then a car rolled over her head twice? You recall that video? You then saw on that video 2 cars and a truck pass. Did anybody stop and help that woman? God is supposedly Trinity. Nobody stopped to help that woman. Why? Not because the Good Samaritan in us was lost, because they were afraid to stop to be a witness, to testify to something which could have even resulted in a death, murder, criminal negligence. By putting cameras everywhere, we need a law in evidence that says that we can use the CCTV cameras as evidence in court. And importantly, that we can introduce something called anonymous witness evidence. We don't need to know who you are to identify you to a criminal. The judge will know, the prosecutor will know, the defense attorney will have certain access, but you can give evidence anonymously. That in our San Fernando Road network, which starts this month, as you heard the Minister of Transport, Works and Transport speak, ties in to another very important project which has just been green-lighted. The contract has been awarded. It's the creation of the fishing facility by the wharf at Hatters Bay, which is next to the Labas. A brand new fishing facility goes, and that's where the Commissioner of Police gets to have the marine policing branch located in San Fernando. Why? We all know in San Fernando that there is an uncontrolled element on our water shore at certain locations, and you need to have police present. In these circumstances, San Fernando, the magistrates court, the request for the tenders are now out. The San Fernando Magistrates Court will be built where Afan's Bakery is, on Sutton Street, on the corner just there by Irving Park. That will start construction in January. The demolished court, which we're doing right now, where the old Magistrates Court was, is where we build the criminal court, and that will start during the course of this year, as well as the family court at the Clooney building by St. Joseph's Convent. That building was bought a small 13 years ago, and it has never been developed. In our area, I want to touch on this. This is the last point that I'm going to make in terms of legislative coordination for what the Commissioner is doing. You will recall that Gulf City, Gulf View, was center point in the news a couple months ago, where the police broke into certain premises in what I can tell you now was hot pursuit of a certain crime. It was not that any of the people who owned those homes were the subject of police action. The police were, and I think I can say this safely now because it's been attended to, the police were dealing with triangulation of cell phone data to assist us in recovering a kidnapped victim. I can say that publicly now. So when you saw the action in Gulf View, it was actually the police doing what they should do to locate a kidnapped victim that has since been successfully located and saved. The Commissioner has a tremendous record for treating with kidnapped victims, in recovering them, and what happened in relation to that matter was a part of a police exercise which is permitted in law. That will work itself out in due course by way of an amendment to the Interception of Communications Act, which will allow for a little bit more clarity to come into that situation. The Interception of Communication Act allows for the police to lawfully, as it currently does, intercept communication but also manage traffic data, which is triangulation of information. You see it in the United States of America, you see it on television, you often see people introduced into this environment where you see the FBI and other places going. What I can tell you is that the crime statistics in San Fernando for general offenses is going in the right direction. We still have a significant amount of work to do. There have been significant arrests under the anti-gang legislation. We have had the successful implementation of the amendments to bail restriction. No bail for certain offenses. As you know, for kidnapping, for gang activity, for possession of firearms, there are now umpteen matters before the court where we have successfully begun the strangling of the criminal empire. I'll end by saying, tonight I am sure that when we have your conversation start, that we will be able to address some of your very pointed issues. I can see already that we have a little bit of charge in the atmosphere. I will just respectfully ask that if we're communicating our perspectives, I ask for the issue to be dealt with, not the personality. I'd like the issue, not the personality. This is intended to be a two-way conversation. From the hands of Minister Kazim Hussein, I can tell you that the local government police arm in the introduction of 100 municipal police is a significant improvement. It joins the removal of the backlog in the criminal arena. Last point, every year in the magistrates' court we get 146,000 new cases. 104,000 of those cases are motor vehicle offenses. 43 magistrates in 12 courts dealing with 143,000 cases. By January, we will have removed 104,000 of those cases. With the abolition of preliminary inquiries, we will remove a further 26,000 cases. That, ladies and gentlemen, means that you have 43 magistrates in 12 courts dealing with a few thousand matters as opposed to 146,000 matters. It means that the municipal police can deal with the policing of environment and that the police are left to deal with serious work in a drastically reduced number of cases before the courts. Our best days are ahead of us. It required plant and machinery, people, processes, and law to all work at the same time. Thank you for your attention. I look forward to engaging in the conversations that we may have and the questions that come at us.
Ladies and gentlemen, I think we'd like to hear a perspective from the Commissioner of Police. And at this point, let's put our hands together and give a warm San Fernando welcome to our Commissioner of Police, Gary Griffith.
Thank you, Your Worship. Attorney General, Honorable Minister, Your Worship, members of this community, Mr. Mohammed, other officers of the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service, members of the media, and a special good evening to you, Mr. Karan. Always good to see you. And Ivan Tulsi. I thank you for spending your time this evening to be here. As the Honorable Attorney General mentioned, this year has been something that, with 41 different constituencies, I have been to 25 plus so far. And what I have noticed is every constituency will have a different concern, a different threat. I intend to spend very little time speaking today because the objective here, as the Attorney General may have stated, is really to get feedback from you. I am trying my best to bridge that gap between the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service and the citizens of this country. At times, we feel that the police service, if it is something is going wrong in our society, blame the police service. And this has been a concern that I've seen even when I was a young boy and I left school. This country has been one to criticize, to condemn, to demonize, to be hostile. And we can look at it for all national football teams, our cricket teams, our politicians, anyone in authority. The first thing to do is to condemn, to criticize, to demonize. But there's a saying in one of the principles in policing, the police, you are the public, and the public, you are the police. On most occasions, if you have an efficient police service, the society is efficient, and vice versa. In the mid-90s, New York City, the police officers there, they were known as pigs, and we recall what New York City was deemed. And within a few years, because of the transformation of the Trinidad and Tobago, of the New York NYPD, they became known as America's finest, and New York City became one of the safest cities in North America. We can do the same. But at times, our police service, we would make mistakes. But guess what? We are human. And we come from society. And our society, we make mistakes. But we're expected to be at a higher standard, which is why what we are doing is to ensure that the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service, we have checks and balances, we have degrees to ensure proper discipline, we measure performance, make police officers accountable. But in the same manner, as I said that we're human, when we make mistakes, we have 10,000 police officers. If a few officers make a mistake, the whole police service is condemned. I have shown and continue to state that the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service, these men and women, they put their lives on the line every day. You don't know what is going to happen. They do not know what will happen to them at the end of the day. Imagine how their families feel when it is police officers are criticized and condemned. There's a lot that we have done over the last 14 months. An approval rating for the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service, it was 14%. It has now gone to 30%. My own approval rating, I will turn it around in the blink of an eye and give up my approval rating for that of the police service, because it is not one person. But at times, I know the public, we demand change and we want change. But what I have noticed is, especially in Trinidad and Tobago, I will want you to change something, but it must not affect me. It can't work that way. At times, there will be decisions and actions taken by the police service that is for the bigger picture. So there's a roadblock. Why would you stop me on the roadblock? I'm a law-abiding citizen. But the police would not know that. And if every single person who thinks that way, and the majority who are law-abiding citizens, how would we find the bad ones? I do apologize for the incident that took place when the police were forced to go into the houses in Gulfview that day. I do apologize. And I just like would apologize to the same situations that would have taken place on many occasions when we make similar operations in Beetham, in Laventille, in Mover, in other areas that may be deemed hotspot. But I can't just deliberately turn a blind eye if it is that someone's life is at risk. And the decision that was made was a judgment call. Because if you look now, within the last 6 or 7 months, when last did you hear about a kidnapping? We've been doing things to transform the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service and to improve your fundamental right, which is that of safety and security. So there are systems we have through the use of technology to improve our policing and to minimize the possibility of persons believing that crime is a product of opportunity and there's no deterrent. So in a situation like what took place in Gulfview, we homed in, we locked in. And to anyone here, I will ask you, had it been your loved one that was kidnapped, and you believe there was a very good possibility that the police, the same situation that we used for Natalie Polony and the several other persons we rescued, which never happened before in the history of this country, when police officers, through technology, through proper operational procedures, we were able to go inside, extract a hostage whilst being held by kidnappers, rescue them, and hold the kidnappers. And that is what has caused the situation now. Remember, just about 10, 12 years ago, every other day there was a kidnapping. Now for several months, none, of which it's virtually non-existent. But there would be situations we have to press and push that envelope. And so I asked if any of you, if you felt that the police had an avenue to pinpoint in a certain area your loved one who was being kidnapped, who could be killed, would you feel that the police have a right to go inside to try to find that individual? That is what we did. And again, it is within the law. Persons you just need to read the law and understand it. But again, I do apologize. But I will not make decisions on popularity. I do not make decisions on what will make me popular. I will make unpopular decisions. I have stepped on toes. I have made statements recently, and thankfully, we have an Attorney General who listens and they understand. We are looking at the bigger picture. I keep saying this is not about red and yellow. This is about red, white, and black. This is about our country. And we keep dividing ourselves based on politics, based on ethnic composition, based on geographical location, financial status. And that doesn't get us anywhere, because the more we divide ourselves, the criminals benefit. I asked us to circle the wagons. This is about good versus evil. And the same way the police will make mistakes, you will make mistakes. But we have to work together. And I promise you, we will get there. Unlike the West Indies cricket team, the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service, we are turning the corner. And we will turn it, and we will do well. This will be the best police service that you can have. And we can be proud to state that it would be known as Trinidad and Tobago's finest. There are a lot of things that you will be seeing in the very near future. Thankfully, in the Southern Division, just for example, the Emergency Response Patrol, every division, what I have done now is put 85 police vehicles earmarked, scattered throughout the country, 24 hours a day, high visibility, a rapid response, GPS tracking, so we can measure their performance, make them accountable. The San Fernando Division, thanks to Mr. Mohammed and others, they have seen the highest percentage for highest visibility, and the maximum use of the ERP is from the Southern Division over all the other divisions in Trinidad and Tobago. And if I could explain the concept of the ERP, it is the use of technology. With a revamped 999 system, it means that you no longer need to go to call a police station to get a response. That was in the 70s and 80s. Now, through the proper use of technology, you call 999, there's an operational command center. We can see where the call is. We can look at the 9 vehicles in the Southern Division that will be in closest proximity to that distress call, and now they can move to respond within 5 minutes or less on most occasions. And it's coded based on priority. So you had 5 mangoes last night, you're seeing 4, that's a level 3. You see that there's a possible situation with domestic violence, that is a level 1. The emergency response patrols will move immediately to that scene. By doing this, it will ensure that high visibility and the rapid response. But again, we would continue, as the Attorney General mentioned, with that marine branch, that coastal patrol unit. We need to ensure we can lock down our borders. I just spent 3 hours in Parliament dealing with the problem of illegal firearms. And that has been the catalyst for the majority of crime in this country. 375 murders at the same time last year because of illegal firearms. This same time this year, 375 murders out of just 470 odd. It means that illegal firearms is the biggest problem. Where do illegal firearms come from? That is even a bigger problem. Because if we do not know where it comes from, how can we solve it? The illegal firearms can come through the illegal ports of entry, which is on the southwestern peninsula, and through, as the Attorney General mentioned, that coastal patrol unit, which will be from the shoreline to 2 miles out. 2 miles out to 12 miles will be tier 2. That is where you have the medium range vessels. And from 2 miles to 10 miles, and 10 miles to 200 miles, which is known as the exclusive economic zone. That is when it is a country will need the OPVs and so forth to secure your exclusive economic zone. The police service, we intend to secure that border between shoreline to 2 miles out. The use of proper vessels, drones that will be used, we're reigniting now the National Operation Fusion Center to get real-time visual footage, see what is happening on the shoreline. Anything enters our waters, we can immediately intercept it. That's how we can lock down our borders, especially in the areas here, in the surrounding areas in the southern peninsula. And then we have the problem with the legitimate ports of entry, where it is perceived that many of the illegal firearms could also be coming from, because we have 2 times the number of weapons we have seized, and we have been able to trace it to the supplier. It came from North America rather than South America. So we have a lot of work to do. But because of the transformation of the police service, I give you the assurance we are improving, and I am here just to get feedback from you. What it is that you can recommend, what you would advise, what you would like to see. My job is nothing more than to serve you. I have two persons that I have to serve. You and the police officers. So I have to draw a very fine line because I shift too much on one side to support my officers, which at times I have to when they are unfairly treated and spoken in an adverse manner about. But then the public will say I'm being too biased to support my officers. If I shift too much to support the public, my officers will then say, well, I'm not looking after their well-being. So far, I'm trying my best to keep that line. But it shouldn't be a line. It should be one with the public and the police stating to themselves, we have an unwritten contract. And the public is stating to the police, I promise to give you the support, to give you the information, to respect you. But I expect you to respect me and treat me with dignity and pride because you work for me. I, the citizen, am the employer. You, the police officer, you are the employee. And on the other side of the spectrum, the police officer is stating to you all that I intend to serve you and protect you with pride. I will treat you with respect. But I ask you also to understand that respect, yes, I know it is earned and not won, but give me that degree of flexibility to let me do my job. And if I do it, I will make, and if I make mistakes, I will be held accountable. Let us work together. I give you the assurance that in the very near future, there would be a turnaround in this country to deal with providing you with your most fundamental right, which is that of safety and security. The Trinidad and Tobago Police Service, we are here to help you. Let us just take away the anger, the hatred, the backstabbing, and always trying to criticize and condemn, especially institutions that are here to help you. And let us turn some words that could help make this a better country. Hope, belief, faith, trust. Ladies and gentlemen, I thank you for the opportunity, and I would just like to spend the rest of the evening just hearing what you will have to advise me on. Thank you.
Before we get into the question session, I'd like us to invite on the left of the commissioner, the only person on the head table who is a resident of this community and one of the hardest working members of the government, the Minister of Rural Development and Local Government. Now let me explain what that means. Local government means the 14 municipalities. And rural government means Cedros, to Toko, to Mayaro, to Shagaramas, covering sometimes. I'll call him and say, Kasim, I'm in Toko, or heading to Mayaro. Sunday morning, there's a flood. Kasim is there, is toll boosting what he has to do. One of the really hardest working and very conscientious member of parliament. At the same time, he will say, he's not a man of words, we know him a man of action, but he has to come and tell us say a few words to us here this evening, and probably the only male friend I have that my wife will say, I don't get between you and Kasim. Let's welcome Minister Kasim Hussein this morning.
Thank you very much, Your Worship, the first citizen of the city of San Fernando. And I want to say to the Member of Parliament for San Fernando West and the Attorney General, I was in the Senate with him last night where he passed the bill. And driving down the highway last night, I was thinking, he's always in the House of Representatives, he's always in the Senate, and he's working very hard for the citizens of this country to pass all these bills. It's just we have to implement it now. So Attorney General, I want to compliment you and acknowledge the good work on the behalf of the people of San Fernando, because I speak here not only as a resident, but to see the good work that you do and the fight you fight, drafting these bills and getting it passed. So thank you very much, Attorney General. To our hard-working Commissioner of Police and a role model to the young people of Trinidad and Tobago, Mr. Gary Griffith, Commissioner Gary Griffith, and Mr. Wayne, Senior Superintendent Wayne Mohammed, who has done yeoman service for the people of San Fernando. And I would like you all to give him a round of applause because and Commissioner, I could say to you, Mr. Griffith, that I could report to you that he is doing a very good job. because somebody has to report to somebody. Ladies and gentlemen, Mrs. Diane Sukaran, who has just left the room, all you distinguished residents of Gulfview, Bel Air, Sunset Cove, Green Acres, and the surroundings, wherever you may live, local government is very much important as safety and security. Most of you all here contact me. They want your drains clean. I am the cleanup man. You want your drains clean. You want your roads fixed. You want the empty lots cut. You all call me. Anything you all want, and I will give my number again publicly, 683-2020. Feel free to call me. I work with the 14 corporations, and as the Attorney General said, we are aiming at 1,500 municipal police officers. We have reached 822, and I assure you, the citizens of San Fernando, that I will accomplish the 1,500 officers by the end of March. So with these few words, feel free to call me any problems you have, local government problems that is. You can feel free to call me or text me, and I will respond to you. I will. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
The strong presence of CPEP in the area, that's the man, the cleanup man. So at this point, we want to open the floor. There's a microphone at the center. You should come and mention your name and your address so we know if it's Sunset Cove, Sunset Ridge, or Gulfview, or Bel Air, as the case may be. And questions we'll take. Can we? Mr. Robert Talley from the Gulf area.
My name is Steve Rabasali. I'm an ex-police, right? The first thing I want to say, and I wouldn't let it pass, is that this meeting was to start 7 o'clock, and it didn't start at 7. I know when I was in the police service, if you have to follow out for 8 o'clock, and you follow out 1 minute after 8, you're for the orderly room, right? What I'm saying is this: leadership is an important thing, right? I have no doubt that these gentlemen in front there work very, very hard. But you see, time is of the essence. And we must respect that. We must really, really respect that. No, I am making that point. So the next meeting you all having, wherever you're having, if you say 7 o'clock, you all be there seated for 7. You understand? Start the meeting at 7, right? And I'm making no bones about that here. I'm serious about that. Man to man, right? Right. The second thing I want to touch on is the Attorney General. He's a very hard-working man. I know that. I watch your house all the time. But there's a problem when the Attorney General has to do all the work he has to do. There is not anybody sufficient or efficient in the area to represent him. Not that they're not people, you know. You follow? So that there must be some, and this has to do with the internal structure of the politics. They need people in the constituencies who really are working to ensure that the community is satisfied with their presence. And by rotation, I have to go right back up to the Attorney General, right? And that is very, very important, right? The next thing I want to talk about is policing. I was very happy when Mr. Gary Griffith was given the portfolio of the Commissioner of Police. And I've been following him, right? Okay? But what I'm saying is this, right? That in leadership, and I'm not trying to say anything other than what I want to say. In leadership, I am urging the Commissioner to listen to his subordinates. Listen to the community and listen to them well. Because I know that sometimes you're in leadership and you believe that you could be very autocratic, you follow? And that doesn't work in this time. We need teamwork. And teamwork requires the respect of all, right? Okay? The thumb can't do what the little finger could do. The little finger can't do what the thumb could do, right? So I'm saying that I'm urging not only the commissioner, but everybody in the leadership to really start to listen, put your ears on the ground, and listen to what people are saying, listen to what your subordinates are saying, right? Now, I'll round off with this, right? Just one thing. There's a statement in the Hindu philosophy that says, he who has the system within himself is the agent of the absolute for the purpose of action. Listen to you wouldn't hardly hear that statement anyway. He who has the system within himself, right? So that sometimes within a team, you have a man who has a system within himself. He might be the most senior person, but that is a man who could really do the job. And you have to look for that. That's how you really empower people. You understand? And they will do a marvelous job. All in all, I really have enjoyed. Okay. All in all,
let me give you the assurance that the Commissioner of Police is here and the Attorney General is here. So nothing's going to go wrong.
All in all, I want to congratulate the members of the head table. I want to applaud them. I am in great support of them. And I also wish that the whole situation of crime and whatever, punishment in this country could be alleviated for the betterment of the society. Okay? Always remember, the Attorney General talk about the courts. I'll leave one thing with him. Today the rule of law has become the rule of the lawyers. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Rabatali. More questions while the head table summarize. Could you take a few more questions? Okay, so coming. This gentleman climbed the Kilimanjaro last year.
Evening to you all. My name is Winston Wilongchong, West Coast Drive. First of all, commendations to Commissioner Griffith, to Mr. Al-Rawi on the work that they've been putting in to try to put us on a better footing. However, there are a few things that really concern me, and I sometimes would look at policing as a nurse putting a plaster on a cut or a wound. And by saying that, what I mean is that we should have some sort of something in place where we can prevent crime rather than having to go after the criminals. And this is something that I see as lacking in our society. We have indiscipline in schools. You're only seeing videos circulating on social media. Children fighting children, right? No supervision. And parents getting into the act, fighting the children themselves. There seems in this country to be a total lack of discipline, a breakdown in society where we are having these criminal elements coming out of it. And for as long as this goes on, Commissioner Griffith, you will always have a job, right? But I am looking at situations where we should have an effort by maybe the Ministry of Social Welfare or something like that, and tutor and the Ministry of Education taking up the responsibility way in advance from the time the child is 3 years old, to start to nurture that child into a law-abiding citizen, rather than have the police use all their resources hunting criminals afterwards. Right? That's been one. The second thing is, I always wondered, why is it that police cars always drive day and night with their lights flashing? Is that a policy of the police? First of all, we on the road, we don't know whether it's an emergency or not. Police cars coming behind us, we don't know whether to pull aside or to go forward or what, right? Then you see these police cars, some of the lights not even working because they've been on 24/7, right? Some of these sirens, you hear it, they're like the wind-up thing that you used to wind up long time. And they're not even functioning properly because they are being abused and not repaired. All right? And the final thing is, addressed to Mr. Al-Rawi, where you talk about all the fine things that you're doing to minimize the time that cases take to be heard. But what happens, I mean, I've been in a situation where we actually caught a bandit with a gun, and the bandit has been granted bail and is out for the past 5 or 6 years, right? Where there is no doubt in my mind that the bandit is guilty. But the bandit goes to court, the judge gives bail to this bandit who is out there for 6 years. Shouldn't there be something where if you catch a man red-handed, that he's dealt with immediately, sentenced and sent to jail or something like that, instead of us here outside living in fear because this bandit is going to come behind us because we are witnesses, right, and putting our lives in danger, right? That's about all I have to say. Thank you.
Perhaps, Mr. Mayor, before the next batch of speakers come up, and we'd like to take them in point, Commissioner Griffith and I, if we are permitted, can do some answering to demonstrate 17 mega projects in San Fernando that will transform our city. And this is not only talk, these are projects which have started, which are implemented. Why? Big issue, underemployment or unemployment. Secondly, reason to stop in San Fernando apart from living here. Thirdly, use and enjoyment of our society. In these 17 projects that have started, take 190 million at Skinner Park. That's not just for Skinner Park, that's our version of the Savannah. Take the 231 homes at Ministry of Work site by Ivan Tulsi. That is a significant housing benefit for employment and for satisfaction. Take the PTSC bus site removal, 14 acres of land that has been yielded for San Fernando to use on the most beautiful waterfront area. Take the hospital car park, take San Carlos Plaza, which is the wharf arrangement, take the widening of the road front, take the Anglican Church project, take the Magistrates Court, take the High Court, take Carlton Lane reconstruction, take Olera Heights reconstruction, take Roy J reconstruction. This has never been done in our city. And it doesn't come just so. Planning, underwriting to get the permission, CEC road clearance, environmental impact, and making sure you have the money to do it. So the key is in organizing that aspect. You, sir, have hit the nail on the head. The local government reform is critical to making sure the needs of the citizenry are met on a day-to-day basis, which is why we invited both aspirants for the local government seat in this area, both the UNC and the PNM. Our local government reform bill is in a joint select committee of parliament, but the engine for its success, money talks, but it walks, right? Without paying our property taxes, you cannot run a society properly. And I can tell you this, in San Fernando, our property tax is at 9% of your annual rateable value. That's the land and building taxes formula. What you did not know is that if you adjust your annual rateable value by current market price, you'd be paying roughly $4,000 to $5,000 in property taxes per month. What the property tax did is it dropped you down to 3% of your annual rental value. The average home in Gulfview would pay a maximum for a mansion of $400 per month. But $400 in a mansion together with $100 or $60 in not a mansion across every citizen in San Fernando going to the mayor's utilization means lots get clean, drains get fixed, roads get managed, markets get clean, schools get maintained, and that was sabotaged by legal action coming from my opponents. I'll just go very quickly. Prevention of crime at early detection point is critical, which is why we opened the philosophy of saying, let's not treat with hardened criminals. Let's stop them early in their tracks. Your Attorney General birthed something called a children's court. First time we ever had that. The children's court has a peer resolution, drug rehabilitation, and early intervention system. We have a different method of managing those children with social workers. This gentleman to my left established a child protection unit which has 169 positions. None of these things have happened. To the issue of the man with the gun, the robber court, how do you get crime to work? In the opposite way. How do you solve crime? It has to be that there is a certainty of conviction. If you do the crime, you do the time. But if the time could never be done because you don't have a judge, you don't have a court, you don't have a defendant, you don't have a prosecutor, you don't have a witness, people break the law with impunity. Yesterday I passed in the Senate the bail restriction bill to add on to another bail restriction bill so that if you are caught with a firearm, you will be denied bail in certain circumstances. But we have to make sure that we get the justice in the court. The commissioner is doing his part by having a very aggressive policing atmosphere. The government does its part by passing the laws and providing the funding, sometimes not necessarily on time because the inflow of money is hard. But we are juggling to get to that point where 6 years is too long for a man caught red-handed. Flashing lights, I leave to commissioner. Lack of discipline, I leave to commissioner. Sirens, I leave to commissioner. Listening to the ranks, I will leave to the commissioner. I just want to assure you, we are alive and well to what the concerns are. What you and we need to see is you want to feel the love. And you can't feel the love, you can't feed a hungry person unless you cook the food. We were back in the position where you got a hungry population who want to be served the chicken that you have prepared for them with no oven, no gas, no chef, no ingredients. That's basically what we have acquired in the last 4 years. And I can end quickly by telling you this. The result of the improvements that we put into the judiciary, the annual report of the judiciary this year shows a 44% increase in the management of cases. That didn't happen by mistake. I'll pass it to the commissioner.
Thank you, sir. I'll be short. Just pertaining to your comments, I agree with you 100%. Leadership by example and the concept about listening to other persons. It is very rare. I don't know how often you would have seen me in this uniform. And nothing against this uniform for First Division officers, but on probably 90% of the time I'm Commissioner of Police, I'm in tactical gear. And not because I want to. When I'm out till 2, 3 in the morning with my troops, it's not because I want to. It is because that's the only way as a leader you can actually see and understand the needs and concerns of the men under your command. I will not have any police officer do anything that I'm not prepared to do myself. And that is why thank you. I have learned fast. I've been able to pick up and understand a lot of things, a lot of concerns. every single police officer who wants to see me, my door is open, and I have met many of them. But unfortunately, I can't please everyone. Sometimes I make decisions that may not be the popular one, but what I'm doing is making the decisions for us to move the police service in as effective a manner as it can be. I just want a quick one pertaining to the lights, the blue lights. I was just at the International Association of Chiefs of Police, and what was very interesting, I don't know if you all are aware of this, the good thing is that now you're starting to hear people complaining about blue lights. You know what that means? That means you have something to complain about. Because before you weren't seeing it. Do you know the same type of blue lights? I mean, I think most of you all would have traveled to North America, whether it's New York, Chicago. Do you know it is the exact blue lights? The exact blue lights that we get and we purchase from North America, NYPD, Boston, LA, Detroit, it's the same lights. But we go to New York, we see the lights and we don't complain. But we come here and we complain about the blue lights. In New York City, what they actually do is sometimes put 25 of these vehicles, put the lights on full blast, and go all through Times Square, all through Manhattan. And you know what that is? It's a show of strength, intimidation to criminal elements, high visibility, real close and personal, letting you know they're there for you. Having said that, I do understand the concerns. What I'm doing now is actually the new lights that we're purchasing. When you turn on your park lights, it will dim it just a bit, because I know people have complained that when you're behind the vehicle, the light can be a little blinding. So I do understand that. But it's just that it's the same lights that they have in all the police departments in North America, and there's no complaint. But I do understand your concern, so I'm adhering to your concern. So if you turn on your park light, it will just dim that much so that it wouldn't affect you when you're behind the vehicle. But please rest assured, there's a reason why the lights are on. That's why all police departments, they have those lights. There's covert and overt. The overt is to let you know that it's to put a sense of, remember, our job is not just to reduce crime, but to take away the perception and fear of crime. And that is why it is you need to have these vehicles high, up real close and personal for you to know that we're there.
Can I just, while the other persons are coming to the microphone, tell you a story of how serious I know the commissioner to be? You may have seen a picture of him in front of a very large haul of marijuana, wearing a certain bright colored uniform piece that he likes to wear. I saw the commissioner about 4 days after with bloodshot red eyes. So I said to them, Commissioner, do you have conjunctivitis? Is something wrong with your eyes? He said, no boy. I spent so long in that room full of weed that my eyes are red for a week now. So just to let you know that he is dead serious about being in charge of the missions and being alongside his officers to see what is actually happening. That was meant to be a filler so that somebody would come to the microphone and ask.
And AG, in fact, that same night, I was in the room, they cut the cocaine bags and the marijuana, and then I didn't pick it up until later on in the night. I was actually goalkeeping for a football team. And I actually saw 7 footballs coming to me that night. And it actually went on with Blaze rundown. I actually dived in the wrong direction, and it wasn't because I'm not a good goalkeeper. But point to note is, if you're on a marijuana operation, you do not goalkeep the same night.
I am introducing a drugalizer test as we take the legislation to the Parliament, God willing, this week. Today is Wednesday, to treat with the decriminalization of marijuana. And I'm warning the public that alongside that there'll be a drugalizer, because you got to test for the position. So the commissioner will have it safely on hand to make sure that he himself is not offending the law when he goes on operations. Yes, please.
Hi, good evening. I'm Indira Puran. I thank you very much for coming here into our community. And good evening to everyone here also. I thank you very much for coming into our community. I was a bit late, and I apologize, as you know, I was really very late too. But with all due respect to you, so yeah. But my concern is crime, and our crime is getting as fast as global warming, you know. And I had some suggestions a very long time ago. I had in mind that we definitely need more money for national security, because crime is everywhere. It's going to affect restaurants, it's going to affect business, everywhere in our communities. So we definitely need more money for national security. We need more policing. So it's going to take time to train police, but our crime is going to be continuing because crime never goes. I read in the magazines, crime never go down. It always go up. And it's very difficult to contain crime once it reaches a certain level. At least that's my knowledge of it. But we need more policing, more policemen to be trained. And thirdly, I have this idea of putting cargo containers, you know, those containers that come from the wharf, placed in strategic places in our country, especially the high crime areas, and have policemen in them, or maybe in our communities as much as possible, so that when you know, the community needs policing, they don't have to go to the central police station, but you will have police posts in various parts of the country, and that's going to help us. I don't mind if you put one in Gulfview, you know, at Bamboo Junction or wherever, you know, so that it can serve the community within a certain radius. That's about it. My main concern is the crime. And I just thought of those cargo containers. You know, you can turn it quickly into police stations, and it can put some policemen, trained policemen in there, and you know, you have a car or so that they can fight crime in different areas.
Thank you.
I thank you very much for coming here this evening, and that's all for now. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am.
I could just quickly answer. And so, just as what you spoke about, I embrace and try to take as much, try to get as much different views from persons, and nothing with her recommendation, but I'd just like to give you my end of it. Mine is totally the opposite, and I'll explain. In the concept of 21st century policing, gone are the days where we feel that a police station is an avenue to reduce crime. It is not. It is just the opposite. Me being previously, my comrade on my left and right, being a politician once, politicians love to build a police station. If someone steals a dynamite somewhere, they're going to put a police post there. And you know, there's a saying in cricket, you don't set field for bad bowling. So the police posts and the police stations is not an avenue to reduce crime. In fact, it will increase crime to some extent, and I'll tell you why. In the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service, I have out of 8,000 plus officers, 2,500 guard police stations. Just look at that, 2,500. So what is done now is less police stations mean what? More police officers all doing what is required. I need police officers. When last have you seen police officers walking the beat? We have lost that. Cities in North America, they did as well. Just a few years ago, they brought it back. Police officers are either in stations or in a vehicle. We're going to put back police officers apart from the municipal police. The other police officers, they have to start walking the beat. When you walk the beat, it provides a higher visibility. It gets you to interact with the public. It gets them to understand the public. So that type of policing is what we're bringing back. We have 77 police stations, as I said, and 2,500 police officers have to guard stations. The concept now with technology is I do not want you, if you have a concern, you need to go to a police station. I intend to give you delivery service. So you call an effective 999. What happens is that we come to you. And a simple example for that is the establishment of several units. One is a gender-based violence unit, whereby for years women will be abused, and then they feel intimidated, they feel uncomfortable going to the station. They complain that if they go to the station, they are not properly treated. The officer may not be properly trained to understand the degree of confidentiality and the sensitive nature of it. So a gender-based violence unit, you call 999, you have a problem of domestic violence, they will come to you, the properly trained officers who will understand that. Then we'll be able to look about enforcing restraining orders and so forth. So you call 999, we come to your home, we come to your, that you do that delivery service. That and the London Metropolitan Police, likewise, what they have now is online reporting. So you have a situation with fraud, cybercrime concern, you go to a police station, the station now has to send it back now to the specific unit. You do online reporting, it goes immediately to that particular unit in real time, and they immediately launch an investigation. So I know it is always good to set up police posts in every corner of the country. It doesn't work that way. There are situations where police stations, you'll see a homicide, probably three houses from that police station. So the less police stations, the more police officers that could be out in the streets. So the effective 999 system and online reporting will provide you with the contact that you need and not have the need for a police station or police post. Less police stations will mean more police officers on the street.
Can I just add something while we get the next speaker to the mic? Very quickly, I'll tell you, the Commissioner of Police on the issue of more money for national security, we actually don't need more money. We need to save money. This Commissioner of Police unearthed something which I was leaping for joy over. So what we'll do is we'll bring the microphone to you for the next one as you have need of a little assistance, okay? This Commissioner of Police identified that we have a whole host of bodies on suspension, taking home 3/4 pay or lesser pay. Not for 1 year, not for 2 years, officers up to 10 years. $50 million a year spent that way. This commissioner identified overtime issues. Again, monies that could be saved. The money in lack of maintenance, etc. So what we have found is that there's a massive amount of room to save money. And by saving money, we redirect that money into purpose. That mission is not a hypothetical mission. It has already started. You also made a very important point that I just want to echo, Commissioner. I want you to all take note that the Commissioner has launched something called the Police Mobile App. That allows the concept of eyes everywhere. I am AG. I am giving him the ability to use evidence in court by CCTVs. What is he giving me? He is giving me eyes everywhere. I'm giving him cameras at every location. He gets eyes everywhere so his police can respond through National Operations Center. So we have a coordinated maneuver. I told the Prime Minister once, and I mean this, I would have given, prior to him being Commissioner of Police, my right arm and my left leg to get a commissioner to work this way, because it's the first time that we're getting an in-tandem approach, law and action side by side. Commissioner said bad bail decisions were being made. AG went to Parliament and passed the law to treat with that. Commissioner said X was going on, or government said Y was going on. There's a reciprocity that happens when you get judiciary, law enforcement, and executive all on the same page. So we welcome the ideas, but what we're doing is we're turning it on its head. We're putting more out on the road, saving more money, reorganizing structures. This commissioner brought home evidence for a matter using a drone. We were able to locate a ring of car theft. You may not have seen it in the papers, by using drone technology. We didn't have to send 6 people out there. We got it done. I'm sorry, my dear. Would you please?
Yes, good evening, everybody. We're talking about crime, and we're talking about the number of young people, more and more young people being involved in crime. And when I came in, I was thinking of just the criminal aspect of it until the second gentleman spoke, and he was talking about prevention of crime with the young people, which is of great concern to me. I'm wondering if it isn't possible for the representatives in each area. I'm an artist, and I was an art teacher for over 30 years in the secondary school system. And I want you to know that the visual and performing arts is a very important avenue for the young people, especially in the vulnerable areas. If it's not possible for every government representative to establish in their own areas visual and performing arts avenues for young people, it is going to be a great deterrent to help them not to get involved in a life of crime. And I'm saying this because I don't know how many of you may have seen the art exhibitions put on by the condemned prisoners every year at Long Circular Mall. Yeah. And when you speak to these condemned murderers who are doing beautiful paintings, and who are doing things like yoga, and whose lives are transformed, but they're condemned. And you're talking to them and you're saying, this is so late. Why weren't they exposed to all of this before they had a chance to kill people and be in jail? So I just want to throw that out, and I'm not the kind of person, I'm sure my friends who are here are surprised that I'm standing up and talking at all, because I don't do that kind of thing, but I feel very strongly about this. And as I said, when you look at those condemned prisoners and you talk to them, and you listen to the things that they say and how much regret they have, this is an avenue that we need to use.
We're going to ask another speaker to go, and we'll take the questions in the round together, okay?
Good evening, everybody. My name is Ashley Gill, and I live in Ocean Avenue. I've been living here for 23 years, and I thought, when I saw the letter, why this about crime? We don't have so much of crime in Gulfview. It was bad at one time, it is reduced. What I think we need is some ethics. People driving, coming out of Seaview Parkway, is it? Behind the mall, and just driving into the traffic. They don't care who is in line. They also have others that drive and overtake in the village, in the Gulfview. I think overtaking should be a thing of the past. Overtaking should not take place. Why do you have to overtake? You're going just around the corner, going over a hump, and as soon as you go over the hump, you swing right and you park up. What was the hurry? You pass the people on the street. Good evening. Not a word. The tongue not there. I often tell them, you swallow it or you don't have it. Because people do not answer you when you speak to them. I have been here for 22 years, as I said, and there's a gentleman who walks, and I've never heard a word from him, barring telling my dog, shut up! Because my dog barked at him. And I wish that dog would have bitten him. He still walks, and I hope that one dog will bite him someday, because he doesn't know how to speak to people, and he doesn't even know how to speak to the dogs. Dogs have a language. They can understand you. And if you tell them, shut up, they're not going to listen to you. So I think what we need in this community is ethical change and some sort of training and telling people what they should do, how they should do, and not just be bullies around with their big black cars. Most of them, they pass you and they pick you, and if you give them a chance to come out of a side road, not even a peep-peep, nothing. They're gone. All the glasses up, so you can't see if they do so. You can't see them in the car because you haven't seen them at all. And that is why I felt that this could have been just an effort in futility. We don't have the amount of crime in Gulfview that requires this meeting. Thank you very much.
There are three answers to the second question, and as the other two come forward, we'll just quickly, both Commissioner and I, address the first contribution. May I thank you as an art teacher for proving my theory of art teachers correct. So at Presentation College San Fernando, Mrs. Gonzalez taught me art, and she managed to never age. She looks the same today as she did 30 years ago when I was at school. So clearly you're in the same bracket, I will just say that. But can I tell you this? Good news, we established the Children's Court for a purpose. We have a concept in law, and There's a young lady in this audience here who I will give credit to in just a moment. Would you mind standing up, Ravita? Ravita Babwa. I'll tell you who she is in a moment. She's a resident, so she's here for lawful purpose. We have introduced the concept of children in conflict with the law and children in need of care, CHINs. What we did in the establishment of the Children's Court, which I am extremely pleased to be the AG to boot, is we introduced a very special system for early intervention with children who enter into potential criminal conduct. And we have a range of treatment for them to allow them to not go into the system, one of which involves social programs including art and culture. And specifically, we also allow for peer resolution, for their peers to decide their sentencing, etc. When you see the program of what we used to call YTC, now called Child Rehabilitation Centers, you will be so proud of what these young people do. To get them out of that system, what we've done is to introduce judge-only trials. Why? When a 24-year-old hardback man reaches before the court, the jury does not see that man as a 12-year-old child who committed an offense. The judge-only trial allows for that to happen, so we're quickening their justice to get them into the position. We have a probation officer's structure that is coming forward, a rehabilitation structure, which will allow us to divert some of these things into there. And that's why we built community centers, so that NGOs can operate appropriately. Let me connect the dots quickly. Do you know that the government spends $9 billion a year in non-profit organizations support? Can you see that $9 billion? You know why you can't? Because the entities that receive it were not registered. Anybody call themselves Friends of San Fernando, Friends of Gulf City, throw in a charity, you will not know they're receiving this extent of support because the system can't track it. Introducing the non-profit organization law and other things will help us to make sure we spend correctly so that we have more result to come. I can say on the point of ethics and traffic management, Commissioner Griffith will just speak in a short while, as will the Mayor, on his traffic management plan. What we are giving you this year is red light camera enforcement and eyes everywhere. Ethics will very quickly find themselves into existence when you have to pay in your pocket and you get your ticket and offense in the mail. I'll prove it. Trinidad and Tobago was viewed to be incapable of slowing down. I, in karate, in my days in Barbados, was in the dojo training one day, and a large Trini fellow who used to train karate with me came in quarreling. I said, boy, what happened? Man, I get a ticket. They stopped me. I said, well, what you get a ticket for? Boy, I was just driving down the road. I said, well, what for? He said, well, for speeding. I said, well, how fast were you going? Man, I was just doing 140. No, this is Barbados, eh? The road shorter than this room. Man hitting 140 where the speed limit is 30. Trinidad and Tobago drove that way. We from south who used to go north know what it is to have a little pepper. My little small mother have a very heavy foot, or used to. So I understand those things. But what I can tell you, 6 speed guns changed the culture of Trinidad and Tobago, because people started to condemn us as a government to say, Wally changed the speed limit down to 84. And we had to tell them, no sir, the speed limit was always 80. We actually changed it to 100. Because Trinidad slowed down when they realize it's $10,000 and $5,000 and $6,000 every time you get stopped. So on the point of ethics, in courtesy for driving, that will help to some point. And very importantly, don't come Port of Spain. You don't want to see how people behave in some places. Good morning, good afternoon. Stand up 6 inches away from you in an elevator. You're lucky if they say hello. The reason our society is in trouble is that they lost the moorings of ethics. As we slowly return decency. You notice, I've known this man for a very long time. We were parliamentary colleagues. Every time I see Commissioner Griffith, He said, I said, God, Gary, I know you a long time. He said, no, sir. You are a person that holds an office, and I am a commissioner of police, and he salutes me. Even though I have known him for as long as I have, he never puts his military training and his professionalism to decide, notwithstanding the fact that I have known him for as long as I have, and I respect him for as long as I have. The good news for us in San Fernando, you check the number of scholarships we bagged. Our students doing, no, Lakshmi Girls has done very, very well. But you add up San Fernando, Naps, Prez, Asja, Pleasantville, add up the schools that we take, we're doing something right in the Southland. So we have some pride and we have some hope to get there. I'll let Commissioner give you his take on a few things.
Thank you, sir. Just briefly about what you mentioned, ma'am, pertaining to other avenues to turn persons away from a life of crime. In criminology, there are three ways to reduce crime. There's primary crime prevention, which involves the policing that we know about, hard targeting, law enforcement, high visibility, a rapid response, arrest, intelligence gathering. Tertiary crime prevention is what we are also dealing with through the Attorney General and myself, the criminal justice system, if persons could find the windows and the loopholes, and also to reduce recidivism, to ensure proper rehabilitation. Going back to secondary crime prevention is something that is overlooked. It has to do with utilizing young persons, utilizing their energies in the right manner to turn them away from a life of crime. The Trinidad and Tobago Police Service, it is not just anymore just having youth clubs or community police officers. We intend to invade communities, but the invasion is not going to be with a fist. We intend to extend the 5 fingers of the fist and turn it into a handshake. So the concept we have is we have about 10,000 odd police officers. Say I get 5,000 of the better officers. And you look at the number of young persons who have been suspended from school, who are in YTC, first-time offenders, persons who may need some degree of support. So what we intend to do is through PAT, Police Assistant Teens, a Big Brother campaign where police officers will be assigned to one citizen, one young man or woman, to be able to be their role model, their big brother, their mentor, work with them, socialize with them, speak to them. Now I know, again, many people see the glass half empty. The first thing persons will say is, well, suppose they have bad police officers. All right, fair enough, but out of 5,000, so you get 100. But I'll be able to now have 4,900 young men and women that may have turned towards associate themselves with gang leaders. These young men are looking for direction and they're going about it in the wrong manner. So we're trying to build a police service through the Commissioner's Cup as well. The Commissioner's Cup is through the use of sport. And with that Commissioner's Cup, we're able to take our streets, bring them together, bring communities together, bring different villages together. And all of a sudden, the Commissioner's Cup showed that sport could play a very big avenue to reduce crime. 2006 World Cup campaign, after we qualified for the World Cup, for about 10 days there was no homicide or something along that line. Sport will play a big part as well to develop a young person's character, not just on a sporting field, but in the aspects that can turn him into a better young man or woman. It's football, for example, discipline, tactics, leadership, strategy, uniformity, punctuality, and all the avenues that you can get in sport can turn those character traits to help you in your development, which is why it is we use the Commissioner's Cup. So I do agree with you, ma'am, that what the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service is not just about hard targeting and law enforcement. We must find avenues to get young persons away from a life of crime.
Yeah. Any more questions?
Oh, I didn't tell you before she introduces herself. This is Ravita Babwa, ladies and gentlemen. This young lady is a very capable lawyer at the Office of the Attorney General. And she is in charge of a very specific area to treat with our children. And she has done Trinidad and Tobago yeoman service. So I'd like you to just acknowledge this lady's effort. I will make her blush now by saying one thing further. Ravita and I have known each other for a while. But where I got my best smile on my face is when I saw her on the election campaigning against me. And usually when ministers come into office, the first thing they do, you and you from so, you going out. You'll be proud to know that your member of parliament did the exact opposite at his office.
I know that was
I insisted that the Attorney General's office is a place of pure law. And I said to every member that worked in that office, you are entitled to have as strong an advocacy in politics as I do. Let's just leave it by the door. And I want to tell you that this young lady has distinguished herself at the AG's office and has made Trinidad and Tobago very proud and has made me feel very sure that I made the right decision back in 2015.
Thank you, A.G., for that fantastic introduction. I made sure tonight to wear both red and yellow when I came, just in case that was going to come up. Good night to the head table and to all my colleagues and neighbors here tonight. I wanted to raise a very specific issue as a resident. I reside on Penny Avenue, and there is a issue that we have to add to the last speaker's issue on traffic within Gulfview. We have a very specific relation between the traffic situation and what I believe is petty crime, because we have a lot of strangers coming into the neighborhood. It's literally on Gulfview West, we have one way in, one way out. So there's the Gulfview Link Road and the Massey Stores exit. And on a morning, as the previous speaker would have said, it's extremely terrible as a resident to try to get in or out of your yard if you live on Gulfview Drive. Sometimes people cut through the back, they speed down Penny Avenue to try to cut, to get around. And there's also an issue with the back gate of the mall. So sometimes people, when they exit, strangers are just driving through the neighborhood. And we've noticed that there's been an increase in petty theft over the last, I would say, 2 or 3 years. And I'm sure some of the residents would also remember that sometimes sprangers would steal shopping carts from Massey stores and just walk down the road with these shopping carts and shop in your garbage. So one morning I'm leaving my house and there's a gentleman merrily going through my garbage, and I walk up to him. I said, "Sir, may I help you?" And he says, "No, I'll tie it back when I'm finished, ma'am, it's fine." So, I mean, I was baffled at that point because I'm thinking, well, this man is literally shopping in my garbage and being polite about it. We've had what I would call, if I call an our representative for the area, Anderson, he always responded in a timely manner. So I had good feedback from him. And I know there was a lot he tried to do with respect to the traffic situation. But if something could be looked at, please, because we have a plan that we would like to suggest. Tonight may not be the appropriate time to put that forward because it might be too lengthy given the time now. But there is something that we would like to suggest, and if there's anybody we could meet with to do that, that would be great.
I can respond to that question. Both Superintendent Mohammed, Senior Superintendent Mohammed, and myself chair the Traffic Management Committee in San Fernando, and we have never received a request for that, although I saw on social media that somebody was claiming that it was forwarded to us. That is not so. If you can document what you said and get it to the mayor's office, we have a meeting scheduled for next week. Certainly, Senior Superintendent and I will look at it, and I think it's a reasonable request, and we'll have no problem addressing that for you.
I'm going to send you his number now by WhatsApp. Feel free to nag him to get it done. And as your MP, and you being just one floor above me at work, please feel free to also let me see what's happening on that end. Imagine, folks, so proper is this child, this lady, that she refused to actually let me know. She's just one floor above me in the AG's office, right? Even though I'm hardly at the AG's office, I'm usually living out to the back seat of my car from meeting to meeting. But just to let you know that she wouldn't have brought that to my attention unless I came to Gulfview to actually hear it from her.
Some things are said at this forum, so I'm glad that I had the opportunity to raise it. Thank you so much.
Most welcome.
I just want to add what Mr. Gill and our last speaker said. In Gulfview especially, I live in Gulfview Drive, and you have a lot of motorists coming through, taxis, and they do not respect that it's a residential area. They blow their horns, they play their music loud, you cannot even listen to, if you listen to a program on mornings, it makes no sense, you can't hear it. I mean, if sometimes the horns that they blow, you jump off your chair. I'm getting older, and you know what's going to happen. I'm going to need a little bit more bed, but they are blowing horn. If we could put up signs that say, look, this is a residential area, respect it, blowing of horns, I don't see the necessity, you know. That's all, thanks.
Yeah, well, again, that's something that both Senior Superintendent and myself can address as we look at, because I'm hearing about these things actually while I was outside before the meeting started. Several residents complain about taxis and maxis coming through the area. So Senior Superintendent will address that matter for you.
Just to let you know, this may assist. In the road widening works that we're starting this month, it's much more than it appears to be. So at the waterfront, what we have is there are a number of bottlenecks that just defy common sense, right? If you come along Rushworth Street from the bypass, you come all the way into San Fernando, you meet a dead end in front of you. You have to go left, you have to go right. You go left towards Todd Street, you're by the traffic light. You go right, you're going down to San Fernando, towards the wharf. We are about to connect Rushworth Street smack into the waterfront. What we're doing at the Gulfview intersection is we're about to take a one-way arrangement as we put a roundabout right where Ivan Tulsi lives. Not literally where he lives, right? Like, you know, he has me on television for the wrong reason. But at that Ministry of Works site arrangement, as we put up the large commercial complex on the PTSC bus yard land and the 231 homes at the Ministry of Works site, there's a roundabout facility there. So we've done a traffic analysis at the Gulfview intersection just at the bar arrangement there as you go to Todd Street. And then we're looking at a circulation plan to treat with the 7 schools that map themselves out between Lesafort West, as you get that whole Asja Tech, that whole community of schools going into Point. So we've spent a considerable amount of time. The other one that is coming is a traffic arrangement that the Gulfview area main road has proposed, and the need for how we manage the barriers together with perhaps another roundabout facility. As we take the highway position go across, the Ministry of Works is treating with that mall traffic, Massey stores traffic, because you have 2 ends of problems. You have the traffic coming in, and you have the Massey stores coming in, and then the mall entrance. So there's actually a whole roadway plan that we have completed already, including with peak time analysis arrangements. What was required is we had to build it, and that building, thank God, starts in December. So there's some good news ahead of us. I'm sure you're all extremely proud of the roundabout that we put out. That roundabout, I'll take a little thank you, all right, as your MP. I don't often get to say that, but I'll say that. So there is a lot more to come in traffic management and structure. Yes, please.
Good evening to the head table. I am a resident of Gulfview. This has to do with probably law. When we first came down here to live, we were told that we were not supposed to drop sand and gravel on the roadway. Today, I almost had an accident on St. Joseph Road. There is a large load of gravel just a bit off from the traffic light, and it was just by the grace of God that I was not involved in a serious accident. I don't know through Mr. Hussein or the mayor if they can get the city police to look into that load of gravel that's on the highway, on St. Joseph Road, that I almost had an accident today. So that's, I don't know if that has to do with the law as Commissioner Griffith spoke about. Thank you.
Okay, so the city corporation will have our engineering department look at that. And this is another thing that we have observed. Several persons doing construction work will have gravel outside, and some time ago, I think in Springville area, they were mixing mortar in the center of the street. These things still happen in Trinidad. So we will address that. We don't do it anymore. Not the corporation. Proceed, sir. Proceed, sir.
Hi, good night to the head table. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Sham Ramna and I live at Ocean Avenue, Gulfview. I know most of the meeting has been taken up by the issues of Gulfview and the MP really, but we really want to utilize the time for the guests, right? I know there are many issues that we could talk about, but I know time is of the essence. But there are issues, security issues that takes place in Gulfview that are not really reported. Small petty crimes, people going to people's houses, going to the yards and steal stuff. Many a times, I'm here like 20 years, and about 4 or 5 times already we had to run down thief, right? Actually run behind them with the assistance of the police. So there are issues that's happening, people losing vehicles. We live in our area, it's a very unique situation, and we were suggesting at one time that if we could probably gate it to create a little more security, but once it's gated according to law, then it would not be maintained or garbage collection, stuff like that. It has to be done privately. But is it possible that a situation like that can be looked at and still be incorporated in the general organization of the city? Meaning, if the residents decide we want to put a gate on each entry because it's a circle, a semicircle, and there's one way you could come in on either side. So if we gate it, that means we provide a little more security and protection for the people inside there. That comes off just on the Gulfview Drive, and I support the other residents. I know they are having a serious issue with that. The Gulfview Drive creates a bypass for traffic, especially the taxis, right? And they did put in some humps. It created a little diversion. And but there's only so much they could do. So if there's some other plan we could come up with, and if we could meet, the mayor could meet with the residents and come up with a holistic plan to deal with the security and the traffic issues especially, that would be welcome. Thank you.
Can we take the next speaker as well, and then we'll do a round of responses?
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Matthew Alexander, resident of Gulfview. I was concerned, or I would like to find out why the San Fernando bypass is at 50 Ks most of the way, and it drops down to 40 Ks at the interchange, the Koke roundabout. And I think that's the two major areas that it drops down to 40. Right? The rest of the continuation of the road from the roundabout to what is Paria Suites is at 80, right? But this road remains at 50 and 40. The Rienzi curtain inside San Fernando is at 80 from Home for the Aged down to Skinner Park. I've also observed roads like the Rivulet Road in Couva have moved from 50 to 80. The Valencia stretch has also moved from 50 to 80, and that is single lane in either direction, side by side, nothing in between. So that was just one of my concerns. Thank you.
Okay. While we have another person coming up, I can answer the second question first, the second presenter first. I'm the guy that drafted the law. Take blame. The reason why it took us so long to move the speed limit from 80 to 100 and to make the adjustments is because the Ministry of Works Transport Division had to go to every single road to establish the engineering capacity of the roads. The interchange that we have in San Fernando, I don't know how that was built. Thank God it wasn't built under a version of my government, because it is badly engineered. If you go at the wrong speed, you can fly off. The road engineering is not designed for people that know the road, us the residents or people of San Fernando. It's designed for people who don't know the road. As they're coming along a highway and then they begin to get to the deceleration point, if we don't reduce the speed limit, the engineering will mean that you'll end up in a catastrophe. So that's the reason why we go from 50 to 40, and then we have the 80, etc. It's the engineering capacity. We won't be able to adjust that interchange, spaghetti interchange, if I could call it that, until some point in the future, because we've been spending the money in San Fernando to do the other projects, the waterfront, the roundabout, the highway, the courts. We decided to spend on income generating assets first before we went along that line. But I can assure you that the Ministry of Works Transport Division, they were the ones that managed that particularly. On the gating of communities, I'd like to say that gating of communities is actually a concept that I have flirted with seriously for quite some time. But I'm not talking about gating in a physical gate. I'm talking about e-gating, electronic gating. And that electronic gating will become a reality because folks, except for the center of San Fernando, where we actually have a grid on top of several hills. People get lost when they come south because they get lost in the hills. But in center of San Fernando, we have a proper grid. Left and right, north and south, east and west. It's when you get to the suburbs that we have gated communities. La Romaine, one way in, one way out. Embacadere, one way in, one way out. Bel Air, 2 ways in, 2 ways out. Gulfview, 1 way in, 1 way out. 90% of our residential communities effectively are gated communities by access. That's why we came up with the Eyes Everywhere campaign. Imagine what happens if we don't put a barrier, but we put a camera, and in a camera with a live feed to Commissioner Griffith, where evidence is recorded, and you have a road hump, so you have to slow down at the hump, and the camera is catching you. In a few weeks' time, I'm going to do the law to introduce RF tag IDs. Some of you who have traveled to foreign countries know in the United States there's something called SunPass. You have to pay tolls along the road. You just have to stop and pay the toll man. What they did is they introduced an electronic identification plate, an RF tag ID, and you now pass under an archway, and as you pass, it automatically knows you've passed. That is coming to Trinidad and Tobago this year, because we want to know when you have passed that you have passed. We now have an electronic footprint of potential crime and policing. So you're getting eyes everywhere, cameras with CCTV evidence. If you make enough noise, I'll get the evidence bill passed. That allows the CCTV evidence to happen. You get your RF tag IDs, and now we don't need to worry about whether the corporation truck could come in because we didn't put a drop-down barrier. It's effectively communicated directly to the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service. So we've worked a few solutions out of it. I don't know if Mr. Mohammed wanted to say anything about traffic on top of what I've been saying?
Basically, you would have covered the main part of the traffic development in that with the widening of the roadways and those roundabouts, that would definitely ease it. But with regards to the natural traffic that is happening every morning, those taxi drivers just use the Gulfview Link Road there as a shortcut to get to San Fernando very quickly. And myself and the mayor who sits on the Traffic Regulation Committee, we ourselves will sit and see what we can do to alleviate that problem.
There was a young lady about to come to the microphone.
So glad. I hope that young lady is me.
I did that on purpose.
Good night, everyone, and good night to the head table. I travel to Port of Spain from south very often. And I want to know, on Sir Solomon Hochoy Highway, it's 2 lanes. Very often, there's some situation happening where you will see some cones are placed, and now 2 policemen will be parked, no, they will be standing, and your car, now you are diverted to only use 1 lane. So there is a backup. And when you reach now, you would realize, and I often wonder, within that short space of time, could the police direct you to use the shoulder to alleviate the traffic? Because between that Sir Solomon Hochoy Highway with 2 lanes, driving there every day could be extremely frustrating for people who live in South, especially without having blue lights. Yeah? So my question is, within that short space of distance, if you could direct people to use the lane that is 1 lane that is available as well as the shoulder, and let people come back and start using 2 lanes when the cones are finished. What I would say is that you do find at times some policemen do allow that, yet some don't. And you could tell because the cars are backed up far back just for this. Is this as a process, this could, in your traffic meetings, you all could have that process to educate or enlighten the policemen, like, listen, this can happen? I don't know. But please help. Traffic going up Sir Solomon is bad, coming down is worse. Help.
Can you just clarify the location again, please?
Anywhere there is a situation. It's not a particular place. Sometimes you will find that there is somebody mowing the lawn in the median. So they will close off 1 lane. So they will have that. If they are fixing the barriers, they will have that. And they will put cones. Now, you know, poor plebs like us, poor you to catch. You just stuck in traffic going to work, you're stuck in traffic coming home. I'm just asking for initiative. Sure. So use the shoulder. It's a short distance. People can't. The police are there. There are 2 of them, always. So they can use the shoulder, short distance, get back on, no traffic. So.
Can we ask the gentleman to come and present his position, and we'll take the answers in the round?
Good evening to the head table. My name is Colin Robertson. I live in Greenacres since 1959. A couple things. I went to Prima College with Mr. Hussein. Attorney General, I will remind you that when you came in and you was campaigning, this is not political, but I said to you and your mom, who I know personally, that I will not see you until the next 5 years. This is not condemning.
God is 4 years, boy.
No. I said to you, we will not see you until the next 5 years. You came back once. My problem, among other things, we don't get representation. We can't get stuff done. You have to pick up the phone. If I don't call Kazim, nobody is around, just like this gentleman said. That is one. The interchange, which is the worst interchange in the whole world, that's the worst. Have no lights. they're doing over the bridge. I am sure Mr. Hussein passed there every night from Parliament. Right now there are 3 towers with 8 lights on it. One is not working at all. The other one has 3 bulbs lighting, and the other one has 4 bulbs lighting of the 8. That is one issue. On the 7th of the 2nd, 2018, I was walking along I was coming up the ramp to go to Richmond Motors, and a gentleman took my bracelet off my hand. At exactly 12:57 in the day, I went to report it to the Monrepo police station. They said, do you have a video? I went to answer my call because my mom worked there. I got the video. I sent it to them. Our officer did call sometime after and said, well, you know, is it possible the officer who is doing the investigation, if they could call me at any time? I said, sure, I will come over. Our officer did call. He asked if I could come 8:30 in the night. That to me is absolute rubbish. That is not acceptable. Anyway, Mr. Griffith sent out a number to the public, 482-4279. I sent the video. And apparently, I am not sure Mr. Griffith looked at it, but our officer did call me from Monrepo and say, Mr. Robertson, your report me to the boss. My point is, why it is you have to know somebody to get something done. We all pay taxes. All I asking is for fairness. One more thing. I want to suggest something. How much money we spend on Brian Lara? I mean, as a boss, I want to ask a question because I want to explain something. My take on crime and whatever, immigration, customs, police, and license office, pay them more money. Forget Lara and whoever with them complex. Pay them more money so they can't think to thief and want to do otherwise. I am not condemning anybody. Pay them more money. Pay them more money. They don't have to think about where this going and that, two and three different jobs. I have no problem with the projects you all doing. Pay immigration, customs, police, and license office so you don't have all of that crap going on. It's just a suggestion. But I would like to get the light fixed, and I don't want to have to call Mr. Hussein to get the grass that they cut about 7 weeks ago still in bag. And you could, I mean, you're busy, but if you're passing Green Acres, I don't want you to bounce down the pica grass as you're turning Green Acres. That's all I have to say, gentlemen. Good night, and thanks for your time.
Most welcome. I'll start debating. I'd like to just recognize Miss Aliyah Baksh, this lovely young lady wearing a hijab. She's the only representative who came tonight to offer herself forward. We invited her opponent, who has unfortunately declined the invitation, it seems. Before Aliyah comes to the point, I'd just like to quickly go to the 2 points raised. Aliyah, if you'd bear with me a moment, this way everybody gets to see you and know you well, so they can't mistake you. The first point, representation. Very quickly, representation is in multiple dimensions. Mr. Robertson, you may not have known that I was in Green Acres 3 times in the last 2 weeks at 8:30 in the night, at 9:30 in the night, to investigate the collapse of the underground drainage, which has caused a significant problem for Green Acres. You see, I'm not permitted the luxury of working an 8 to 4 job. I have to work 24 hours basically. And that kind of stuff means that the regular working hours don't really reside in our area. The note on the traffic lights, we'll take that point. The key is to make sure that you feel the effect of representation. Your roundabout didn't happen by mistake. Your development of 17 projects didn't happen by mistake. And then there are certain areas in our constituency, in San Fernando, we have hidden, blinding poverty. I'd like to ask how many people have ever walked in the back of the Hatters Community Settlement. In other words then, walk down the beach by the Labas. One hand. I'd like to ask how many people have walked through the Bayshore community and know where Pakistan is. 2 hands. We have some areas in our society, folks, where the level of poverty is so dramatic that Edmund Dillon, who serves now as Minister of Housing, but who served in the Trinidad and Tobago Defense Force in the Coast Guard, when he came to Pakistan with me, he said to me, I served in the military till I retired as CDS. I have never in my life seen poverty of the kind that I have seen here. And I will make no apology for spending a significant amount of my time in those places. You know why? You have to assist those in the desperation of need first. The key is to make sure that we feel the effect of representation otherwise. As to paying, licensing, immigration, customs, and certain other areas more, I agree. I wish we could pay a little bit more. What we do know is that we paid back pay of $5 billion. What we do know is that there were increases. But what we also know, folks, is that there's rampant corruption in our institutions. How many of you read that 9 people were charged for activities at the licensing division last week? You all think that happened by mistake? You know how that happened? Because your Attorney General decided to digitize the licensing division. And once you digitize the licensing division, you could find the fraud. And you're going to see activity come about very shortly in other areas of government, because the only way you stop crime is to put people in fear of being caught. And next month, when we go cashless in a number of our systems, at the Registrar General, at the Immigration Division, at the Licensing Division, watch what will happen. Because with the greatest of respect to the gentleman, there is a system of racket in the Licensing Division where you pay $500 for an early registration of a car at $10,000 per month. 10,000 cars per month times 12 months. One man making $60 million in racket money. And Commissioner Griffith will tell you that we have found people inside the public service earning $10,000 a month with $6 million in a bank account and $5 million in a bank account and 4 and 5 and 6 houses. And no, sir, should that be allowed to happen, because there's now a law called Explain Your Wealth. And that didn't happen by mistake, folks, in case you wondered. Trinidad and Tobago is about to go through a transformation of sobriety. You can't frighten people into existence. You have to sober them into existence. And I will say this. The evidence of that is in the following example. Normally in a tax amnesty for a 4-month period to 5-month period, as we have had 5 times since I have been Attorney General, not 5 times under me, you net about $400 million in tax revenue. We ran a tax amnesty for 2.5 months. Do you know how much we netted? Anybody? $2.4 billion. You know why? We now have Explain Your Wealth legislation. So I am convinced that our best days are ahead of us. I accept that there's a significant amount of work to happen. I actually ran into the bad grass myself. But I don't know if you know that there was an injunction brought against us to stop local government from hiring small garbage contractors to move that very bag. And instead of allowing the employment to happen locally for small contractors to happen, my political opponents brought an injunction against the government to stop that from happening. So it is not because you don't have a representative. I was certainly there in the night. It's not because we don't have a facility to move it. It's because we are met with opponents who say, if we can't rule, we're going to mash up the place. And that, sir, is a reality in this country that I'd just like to put onto the record, because you have representation. Is it working right? Not fully. Can it get better? Yes. There's one last thing I'd like to say, but I'll save to the end in answer to that. As I asked Ms. Baksh, I hope you don't mind, ladies and gentlemen, even though she may ask a question, we made sure to invite all political representatives here tonight. We called twice. I got a message saying that the UNC was going to have a meeting elsewhere and that they declined the invitation to come. But just to let you know that this is entirely an open forum. And Ms. Baksh, if you would introduce yourself and present your question, please.
Members of the head table, residents, other members of the audience, and media, good night. My name is Aliyah Baksh. I'm one of the 2 candidates for Laser for West Laramie. And I'd just like to commend the head table on this initiative because it's needed. And my question is, I guess, for Minister Hussein and possibly MP, what in the future, will there be anything in place for councillors to be able to have a more direct link to the police instead of the red tape and going around in a circle? Because at the end of the day, the councillors will be responsible for the residents and they will have to answer to the residents. And when a resident asks you for something and you did your part, you send the letter, you made the call, but you're really just waiting on the person up there to respond, you're now in a position where the residents are waiting on you. So will there be anything in the reform or otherwise to facilitate that relationship directly with the councillor and the police? Thank you.
Thank you very much for your question. And I would like to say you are on the road to the San Fernando City Corporation. And when you reach there, you will realize there's a coordinating committee called the Regional Coordinating Committee, where the TTPS and the municipal police attend those meetings and they will interact with the council and the public. So when you reach there, you will see it. And in the reform, that is what the reform is also about. Direct contact with the police. The municipal police will be more out on the streets in the community, assisting the TTPS. And I have put a program in place where they will be going into the communities on foot. And they should start for the Christmas season throughout Trinidad and Tobago in the 14 corporations. Thank you.
Good night, Honorable A.G., head of the table, and ladies and gentlemen. My name is Elvis Silochan. First to begin, Commissioner, you spoke about the police station. I agree with you. Because when you look at San Fernando and surrounding, when you look at the amount of police station you have, from San Fernando, you have Monrepo, you have Marabella, you have Pleasant Park, you come on this side, Gasparillo, you have St. Madeleine, did I call Monrepo? What is the area of that, the population, the amount of police station around? I could tell you, like for instance, if you have more police cars, not like the ones behind Vemcut, you know, all those new vehicles, Prados and things, and good vehicles there park up there for what? A starter or a light or a switch? I could remember people in the surrounding here. Like for instance, the traffic by Skinner Park there, when school over. If you have 2 police cars parked there, everybody very disciplined. You understand? If there's no police, there's tremendous traffic. If anybody against me, tell me. Agree? Another thing, I want to beg you all, the highway is done. Fix the road from the roundabout straight by Green Acres, please now. Oh God, it's really, really bad. Thank you.
Mr. Silochan, that is in the pure package. It is going to be done. The releases are now about to come, so I can assure you that that will be done.
And something must be done with all those police vehicles. Mr. Commissioner, I know you're doing a fine job. But then again, if you're buying vehicles from companies, you understand, they have to give you a warranty. Service the vehicle there. I remember right after Tulsi there was about 10 vehicles parked up there doing what? Now I see it empty. You understand, if you're buying vehicles, let the agent be the service provider. Please, thank you very much, sir.
Directed to Mr. Commissioner.
Before you speak, Ms. Gobi, we would like to wrap up at 10 members, so please let's keep it as short as possible.
Actually, I just want to make a little appeal. The sirens on the police cars. I noticed, well, in the morning, I know when it's between 20 past and 7:30, because I'm on Gulvey Drive. So I hear them go, and then they blast out into the siren to pass. No problem with that, but sometimes they just suddenly come on with the siren. And one night I was forced off the road because the lights were on, the blue lights, but there was no hint that there was any indication that they needed to pass. And all of a sudden the siren came on. And I went to the side of the road, the tire burst. I didn't have a choice anyway. By the time I got off, after the car passed, I turned in there by Lynx, by former Toyota, slowed down. The only place I could have gone into would have been by Lachlan, so I couldn't because they were closed. And cars coming, and cars behind me blowing, so I came home on the flat tire. I don't have to say what happened with the rim. But I'm just making a little appeal that if they could give like a little forewarning, as they do sometimes, I think it's a good idea. And then the blast, because it gives you just that little second or two to be, having been forewarned, because you could run into another vehicle or into a post or something. So just a little sensitivity, just that, thanks.
Hi, good evening, everyone. All protocols observed. I am Merlin Boyce, and I'm a resident of Coconut Drive. I'm also an owner of property on the promenade. But this evening, I want to commend the Commissioner of coming to San Fernando. And, when you were first appointed, I remember you were saying, if the criminals don't fear God, they will fear Gary. Whenever I hear of any crime being committed, I think of you. I say, Gary boy, they're afraid of you. How are you coping psychologically with the increase of crime, which seems to be just galloping, one? Secondly, someone from my area asked me tonight to please mention the fact that we have many abandoned homes in our area, which seem to be attracting bandits. So I don't know if His Worship can do something along with the police to have these abandoned houses destroyed or vacated so that it wouldn't be appealing to the bandits. And I'm glad that I have this opportunity to see Mr. Mohammed and the mayor, because just recently I pointed out to His Worship that we have problems with parking on the promenade, and especially with the narrow area now and the parallel parking, which seems to be most of the times undertaken by police officers. it's an extremely dangerous situation, and I'm hoping and praying that Mr. Mohammed, you and the mayor can collaborate to eradicate these problems. I thank you.
Just very quickly, just taking the last one there. Parking on Promenade. Good news. UDCOT has just completed its procurement exercise for the creation of a parkade at the base of the San Fernando General Hospital. Why? As we widen the waterfront usage and we attend to the fact that there's no adequate parking for the Port of Spain General Hospital, one of the San Fernando General Hospital, sorry, we just turned sod on the central block and that's still in my mind. As we attend to the fact that the San Fernando General Hospital is the largest hospital of its type, actually, there's no parking. We contemplated as well parking for the promenade in its proper situation. So there will be an entire parkade just across the road where a walkover will be constructed so that people can access the court services. Because remember, the criminal division is going there, the civil division is there, and the family court is to be established just up the road. So we're looking at the parking in that area very carefully, and that is about to start construction. Abandoned homes, good news, we're in court already. What we're trying to do is to get the magistracy to actually make the orders. So we did an exercise where we literally went to look at every single abandoned lot and home in the city of San Fernando. We earmarked them to see which one is private and which one is state. And right now we're doing a mass exercise to compel the owners under law. That has been frustrated because the property tax side of it is not in effect. Because the real sanction is the state can take your property to pay for the action, but that can't happen once it was under threat, as you well know. There's a whole regime of law. On the issue of the commissioner's psychological profile, I think I'll have to leave that to him.
I'll be short on that. The concept of the criminals being fearful there. If you recall a year ago, criminals had no care or concern, even for law enforcement officials. They thought that they were in full control. They are not anymore. So yes, they are fearful. What they are cowards. So they have no intention to confront anyone who's bigger, tougher than them. So what they are cowards. The concept of what you spoke about, ma'am, again, is that, and I'm not into the statistics, but there has been actually a 10% decrease in all violent crime. We're speaking about rape, robberies, armed robberies, kidnappings, grievous bodily harm, shootings, woundings, murder. The one problem that we would have is homicide, because it is very difficult for the police to be able to stop a homicide when one gang member wants to kill another gang member 2 o'clock in the morning on a side street or side alley. The difficulty we have is that we can't stop that from happening. Our job is to go back to what the lady said initially. We have to deal with the young persons to get them out of there and try to find a way to reduce the number of illegal firearms in the country. But I could assure you, these criminals, they are cowards. They have no intention, and I would advise them not to confront police officers. What they're doing now is just being cowards to go after persons who are unarmed and take advantage of them, and that's where our job comes in. I just also want to add, pertaining to the measurement of performance with the police vehicles, likewise, because of the GPS tracking on police vehicles, now we can monitor if a police vehicle is actually going 150 kilometers an hour on a road that will have traffic congestion at 4 p.m. We know now that they're going over the speed limit. We can contact them and say, well, why are you going over the speed limit? Because we have not sent you out on a distress call. So I would advise that on most occasions you see police vehicles, and every person who sees a police vehicle with a siren on, they feel that they're just trying to beat traffic. We can now measure their performance, make them accountable to ensure that if they are going over the speed limit, it is because we have sent them out on a distress call. And I can give you an example of that. A few months ago, 2 police vehicles going 140 kilometers an hour on a secondary road in Chaguanas crashed. Brand new vehicles. And we were able to pinpoint that they were not going to a distress call. Now disciplinary action can and would be taken. So we have systems now to make sure that police will not abuse. And one final point pertaining to these black Prados you see at times where certain persons in high office when it is that you see these vehicles moving and not stopping at the red light, it is not because they're overtaking traffic. It is not because they do not want to be in traffic. This is a drill that is that from VIP protection, that the vehicle cannot be in a static position. That is all it is. So it's not that the individuals, whether it be the President, the Prime Minister, the Chief Justice, the Attorney General, if it is that this is a mandatory requirement, not by the principal who is in the back of the vehicle, but by the trained, qualified officers who understand you cannot stay static. You stay static, it sets you up for an ambush.
Can I tell you a very quick story as we get to the last question or comment? I was once seated in a public place, and I watched a barrage of black vehicles, lights on, sirens blaring, overtaking, moving, and I recognized the detail. It's the Prime Minister's detail. What they didn't know is that I was on the phone to the Prime Minister literally at the same time saying, "Doc, where are you going in such a rush?" He said, "Me? I'm in the Prime Minister's office." That was a frolic of their own, as we say in law. So don't for 1 minute think that this is something that is requested by people. Very often, the only solution is what the commissioner did. Let me ask you a question here. I want to poll the audience. How many people in this room have the police app on their phone? Folks, barely any hands up. 3. It is that app that allows you to communicate and send an anonymous report to the TTPS. This is part of Eyes Everywhere. This is how the commissioner, when he gave his number and sent it publicly, was able to receive information which caused a resident here to be able to get some action. So we have to do our part. If we leave policing up to everybody else, we're going to be in some trouble.
Right. Thank you. Thank you.
So before, this will be our final question. Sir, proceed.
Okay, addressing the Mayor and Mr. Hussain, I want to say thank you for the wonderful job you all did in refurbishing West Coast Drive. However, there's a water leak, and there has been a water leak for the past maybe year and a half next to Mr. Rabatali's home there that will soon destroy the wonderful work that you all have just done. So if something can be done and money could be less wasted, I'll appreciate that. Second point is, with 30,000 cars getting on the road every 4 months and with constant traffic congestion, there are 2 laws that I would really like to recommend and see introduced. One is no U-turn on a road, because many times cars going in traffic and they want to make a U-turn, it stops the traffic for at least about half a minute, which in turn stops the traffic down the road by 10-15 minutes. The second thing is parking, parallel parking should only be done in the direction facing the traffic that you are following. That means if you are driving on the left hand and there's a parking on the opposite side, you cannot cross the road to park on that side of the road, because in exiting that parking, you will have to stop 2 lanes of traffic to get back into your lane. So if something can be done where you restrict parking only in the direction of the lane that you are driving in, I think that will certainly help the traffic situation, and also no U-turn in the road. Thank you.
Before you spend, let me just say that what I recommended is what we have done. I know most of you do not go into the inner city, which is High Street, Library Corner, Mukrapo Street, Coffee Street, or Harris Promenade. But that was we have done in recent time, both Senior Superintendent Mohammed and myself, with our team. And we have really changed around the traffic around the inner city. You can easily breeze through Harris Promenade, High Street at any time of the day now, even at peak hours, because we have really directed traffic. I do not know if the panel want to take the last speaker. We had said I would have the last question, but it's up to the panel to...
This is a critical question, gentlemen. Good evening to you all.
I think we're doing security today, so we're not doing political questions.
I'd like to address the head table, please. It is critical in the closure of the Skinner Park. you're unable to do any cycling on that Skinner Park. So the cyclists have resorted to the wonderful facility at the Brian Lara. Unfortunately, while it may be beneficial to the driving public to escape traffic, you have a position where you could have a fatality or fatalities at any point in time. The drivers who are going through a sporting facility, overtaking each other, cussing the cyclists on the road there. I ride there and I find it very dangerous. I don't know how we could intervene. There are signs saying at the entrance 5 kilometers, but you have people going 120 kilometers speeding through there. Good? So I don't know, I'm appealing to the head table, the commissioner, the AG, right? Please do something before you have a repeat of what happened last year where 2 cyclists were killed. We have the closure, and here it is you wouldn't like to have cars running through the savannah in Port of Spain where people are jogging. This is the exact thing that we are having here. All traffic flowing through the center of a major sporting facility, and your cyclists, joggers, walkers, little children bicycling could get killed easily. And here we go again, 6 o'clock news. Could we do some intervention, please? Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, if I may bring thank you to the last contributor, certainly something that is an important note. Could I just be permitted, as the MP for the area, to say something very publicly? We've all seen movies where you're looking at a serious and emotional event. Picture Braveheart, Mel Gibson, blue and white paint on the face. Picture Gladiator, Russell Crowe, standing in the beginning of the movie in Germania, marshalling the troops. Picture Churchill. I've given this example before to say, in each of those scenes that you see a general, someone in command, who does one thing. He inspires the troops in his presence to steel themselves and to have courage and to go forth bravely into war to face the enemy. Trinidad and Tobago is in that place right now. I'd like to say that our Commissioner of Police is that kind of general, marshalling troops. Look around at the TTPS today. You'll notice they have badges. You'll notice that when the police walk the ground and they are in their pixelated camouflage, and you hear about the special unit called SORT, all of a sudden crowds part. People take them seriously. I could tell you members of the Army and Special Forces leap to join those elite units. Those were creations of the Commissioner, backed by Minister of National Security and government. There are things that a government just can't do. But when you have a commissioner with the courage to do what Commissioner Griffith does, you start to have the man on the hill marshalling the troops. Trinidad and Tobago is also in a very unique position. There are naysayers. One man picked a private cause against Commissioner Griffith. His biggest issue in Trinidad and Tobago is why they're wearing the uniform. A fellow named Kirkwaite, I don't know if you know him. Kirkwaite spent a mountain of time, instead of watching the courage that Commissioner Griffith was putting into people and the pride returning to the service, his big issue is when they get permission to put on the uniform. So there are people, Mr. Wade does good work as well, I'll tell you. There's always a good thing to have people check and balance. But I want you to be cautious about the people. Imagine that movie recast as follows. You have Mel Gibson on the horse at the Battle of Stirling telling the troops, freedom! And then a man will out and say, hey, that horse dead. 2 men in the back always sick. That section of the army, them ain't get fed. That section have tuberculosis and disease. You cannot inspire confidence to go into battle and to go into war if you listen to people like that. I am asking our community not only to say thank you to our Commissioner of Police for taking confidence to a different level, but I'm asking you to reject naysayers. Jamaica lives under a permanent partial state of emergency. It's called the Special Zones Law. If you read the Jamaican newspaper, you will not see crime reported the way we report it in Trinidad and Tobago. Our country has to be reclaimed citizen by citizen by reflecting upon hope and taking success by success. And as Attorney General and as a Member of Parliament for San Fernando, I wish to say quite publicly to Commissioner Griffith, thank you for accepting a job, and more particularly is the first man in a long time I have heard say in the position that he occupies, the buck stops with me. As it comes to crafting law and doing my part, the buck stops with me. I'll say that. But to Commissioner Griffith, thank you for leading up front. Thank you for taking time to come to our city of San Fernando and for being a part of our community. And to you, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for staying with us tonight to bring your concerns to the fore. Mr. Mayor?
Thank you for that very profound summary here this evening. I personally like to thank the Commissioner as well, the Attorney General and the Member of Parliament for this initiative, for bringing this very important exercise to the residents here for start this evening's get-together. I also like to thank the Minister of Local Government and Rural Development for taking his time, the hardest working member of government, to be with us again today, to share his thoughts with us, and of course the Senior Superintendent Wayne Mohammed being with us. And I'm seeing Mr. Abidara, you do before the thanks?
Yes, all I'm saying that on behalf of the residents of Gulfview and other areas, thank you all very much for bringing this to us. And I think it has been a very, very successful and rewarding meeting, right? All the best to you all. Thank you.
And in closing, it's always a pleasure to be in this community center, because when I suggested way back in 2008 that we build a community center, both Mr. Lisaldo, who's in the back there, and Mr. Andy Williams and others, and Mr. Wendell and others here who lobbied for this community center, we were told that this community is not a depressed community and Gulfview doesn't need a community center. Well, I'm here to tell you that the community center is the center of the community. And if we didn't have the center, where would we be tonight? So congratulations to your community center.
But didn't get to open it. That's a shame.
You know, what is amazing is that this community center was finished on the Friday, and we had a meeting this Sunday morning, and I said, tomorrow's election, that was 2010, 23rd of May 2010, should I open the community center or wait until after election? And they said, well, wait till after the election. I said, well, I'm a principled person. How can I open it now? Let's wait till after election. Well, we all know what happened. Anyway, you all have a good community center, and congratulations. Let's make it work for all of us. It's about Gulfview, Bel Air, Sunset Ridge, Green Acres, and all the surrounding communities. Thank you for a very productive and a very civil meeting. And we look forward to another meeting again, AG. Whenever we meet again? Very soon. Very soon. And we'll not, Mr. Robinson, not in 5 years' time, you will meet them again very soon. Thank you all so much for coming.